Oh, dogs are still barking. UConn Huskies, yeah? It is amazing knowing that the two of you up here have had my back from Storrs to Seattle and now Springfield. Swin, we were roommates at UConn when we were still teenagers. I've always admired your confidence, your fearlessness, the way you approached everything both on and off the court. From sharing a dorm room to sharing championship moments, you've been there through it all. And our group chat with Asia and Tamika, who are here today, is still going strong, proving that some bonds really are unbreakable. And Coach Auriemma, all those years ago, you gave me the most important piece of advice I've ever received. I mean, I guess you gave a lot of advice because you talk a lot, but this was really the one I remember. You said, you know, it's not often you get to take shots, and he doesn't have a mic to come back, so. You said, basketball is not a game of how to. It's a game of when to. I built my career around it, and I'll be saying more about that in a minute. This moment is truly overwhelming. There are hundreds of people in here I could thank, and those are probably just my surgeons. It's been so wonderful, though, seeing so many familiar faces. I do want to thank the Honors Committee, Jerry Colangelo, and everyone who makes this evening possible. It's been a crazy year for me. My own street in Seattle, the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, and then 2 weeks ago, the city of Seattle and the Seattle Storm unveiled my statue outside of Climate Pledge Arena. Thank you. The first WNBA player, but certainly not the last. And you know, for years, when you play in the WNBA for years, we were told the league's not going to make it, that it wasn't important. But we're in Massachusetts, so like the great Will Hunting once said, how do you like them apples? And now this moment. For me, the Hall of Fame is the ultimate capstone, not because of the fame part, but because of the hall part. It's about being forever connected to this group of peers. The real honor is becoming part of a community that includes everyone, from the trailblazers who came before us, like Ann Donovan, rest in peace, and Ann Myers-Drysdale, whose faces I used to see on the walls when I visited here as a kid, to all the players still out there changing the game. And of course, to our 2025 class, Maya, Sil, Mello, Dwight, Billy, Mickey, Danny, and the 2008 men's Olympic team. I remember that Olympics well. It was a great Olympics. Both teams hanging out, winning gold. I mean, it was kind of weird how LeBron, Chris, and Dwayne kept yapping about 3-year deals with a player option, and where do you want to take your talents? Where do you want to take your talents? I don't know, I tuned it out. I'm sure Mickey could probably tell you guys about that later. But Beijing was fun, and it was so memorable, so congrats to you guys. This honor really boils down to one word that Maya, Sylvia, and I know doesn't come easy, especially in the career of a female athlete: belonging. I learned its importance early, because no matter how tough the odds, I found my footing by finding my people. And sometimes they found me. Growing up on Long Island, our 5th grade elementary school yearbook asked us to predict what we'd be when we grew up. I said a doctor, a lawyer, or a professional soccer player. 6 surgeries on my left knee, 1 on each hip, 5 broken noses later, I went on to know a lot of doctors. And lawyers, every athlete in here knows, we know a lot of lawyers too. They do all the contracts. As for professional soccer players, well, I didn't become one, but I scored one anyway. So maybe I knew more at that age than I realized. But one of the things that was pretty obvious then was that the odds of a kid from Syosset, New York, growing up to be a professional soccer player, let alone a professional basketball player, were stacked against me. Or should I say us? Billy. 2 Long Island kids, same night? That's crazy. Back then, I was playing on a boys' soccer team because they didn't have a girls' team. The year I made those yearbook predictions, the WNBA didn't even exist yet. There was no professional path, no professional league, no professional league, no obvious place for someone like me. But at every phase, there were people who made sure I knew I had a place in basketball, and that's how basketball became my home. My mom, Nancy, didn't care whether I won or lost. She just gave me the freedom and space to find my belonging. My dad, Herschel, loves the game and always challenged me to be my best, which eventually backfired when I started beating him one-on-one. And my older sister, Jen, was the first athlete and person I looked up to. And not just because she was taller at the time. She set the bar that pushed me to be better. I was playing on a local CYO team when someone approached my parents and invited me to an AAU tryout. It was life-changing. I joined the Liberty Bells, a team from Queens, shortly after, and from that point on, I was playing against the best, with the best. More than that, it was the connection of community. I'd found my fit. But even then, it wasn't automatic. My dad used to call me Peanut because when I'd go to these national tournaments, I looked tiny standing among the other girls. But that turned out to be a gift too, because I couldn't fall back on overpowering anyone physically. I had to develop my basketball IQ at a really young age to bridge that gap. By the way, don't let my last couple years in the WNBA fool you. I was fast. Sometimes they show these old highlights, and anyone knows if you play a long time, they only show your later ones. Where are those young years, you know? I remember Coach Auriemma, first time he ever saw me play, he told me, you're the quickest point guard I've ever seen. I was so proud of that. And then I got to college and lost every race to Swin. Every single one. So there's always levels. Along the way, again and again, I got better, stronger, and more resilient with the help of a second family of teammates and mentors. From Coach McCarthy, who was, the dad of a kid on the team, who taught me to shoot with one hand, to my first AAU coach, Mr. McGlynn, the first but certainly not the last to yell, "Shoot the ball, Sue!" Okay, I got that a lot. From my second AAU coach who told me, don't become a player who had great potential, become a great player. To Brian Agler in Seattle, who told all of us, you can either find reasons to get things done or find excuses not to, which Megan reminded me of every time I procrastinated with these remarks. In fairness, I had a lot of speeches to write this summer. And support even came from people I didn't even really know. People who made me feel that I belonged at the moments I didn't even realize I needed to hear it. The neighborhood boys who learned I should always be the first pick at the park. Or the security guard at a St. John's University game who asked for my autograph when I was 11 years old after watching my team play at halftime, telling me, this is going to be worth something someday. Nothing quite prepares you for the first autograph request from someone who isn't related to you. Suddenly you realize other people see something in you too. Flash forward 12 years living in a new coast in Seattle where you get shunned if you jaywalk, but you're a wimp if you use an umbrella. It was an adjustment. But one day I was swimming at the gym. I went into the pro shop to buy some new goggles. The cashier behind the desk asked my last name to pull the account up. So I said, Bird. And she goes, oh, like Sue Bird. And I was like, yeah, exactly. And she goes, what's your first name? I was like, Sue. She did a double take, gave an embarrassed chuckle, explained that she's not a sports fan, but she watches the news. And just like that, this New Yorker felt like I belonged in Seattle. What a wild journey over 30 years to go from no league at all to a league of our own, and today the ultimate place of belonging here in Springfield. To all my teammates, coaches, friends, and family, my biggest supporter, Megan, thank you for helping me be my best. To the University of Connecticut, Coach, CD, Tanya, and Jamel, you built the foundation. To the Seattle Storm organization, you gave me a home. To everyone at USA Basketball, you gave me an opportunity to represent my country, the ultimate honor. My time in Russia, that's a different speech, but those experiences helped shape me, and I got to do it with the greatest, Diana Taurasi. To Nike, the WNBA, from Val Ackerman to Kathy Engelbert, the NBA and Adam Silver, to all the partners and sponsors who invested in women's basketball when it wasn't the popular thing to do. And to my agents and advisors who guided me through every decision, thank you for always having my back. It all really goes back to what Coach Auriemma taught me. The game itself is relatively simple. The hard part isn't knowing how to, but when to. And in my career, the biggest challenge was knowing when to reinvent myself at so many pivotal moments. Only I could do it, but I didn't do any of it alone. It was the people around me, the second family who helped me through. It was the teammates at UConn who supported me when I tore my ACL just 8 games into my freshman year, who listened to me when I was worried it was a death sentence for my career, and sat next to me on the bench when I just wanted to be out on the court. In Seattle, after arriving as the first pick of the first ever WNBA draft lottery, it was the veterans who didn't see me as a competitor, but as a 21-year-old kid just building a brand new life. They took me to breakfast, they showed me where the grocery store was, they showed me the ropes in every way. Plus, I got to team up with Lauren Jackson, who couldn't be here today, but who have been up here with these guys presenting me. It was the doctors who helped me on the road back from microfracture surgery just 2 years into my WNBA career. Another death sentence for athletes. My surgeon looked at me, literally looked at me in the eyes, and said, "So from now on, when you're sliding left on defense, just don't slide like all the way left." And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, that's an impossible request. But somehow I did it, and for all of you that have been critical of my defense all those years, doctor's orders. And it was the people who helped me succeed as a player who was no longer as fast as her younger version, but could still do great things if I focused on what I could still do. It was Jenny Busek who pulled me aside and said I needed to embrace my old lady game to protect the tread on my tires and preserve what was left so it was there when we needed it. And that's when I hired my performance coach, Susan Borchard, because sometimes you need someone to focus on the how-to when you're so focused on the when-to. Because I knew they believed in me, it helped me believe in myself too. Through injuries, fighting Father Time, or as I like to joke, just trying to tie him, weathering the ups and downs from the Storm's rebuild when I was much closer to the end of my career than the beginning, and wondering if I'd ever even make the playoffs again, to winning the championship 2 more times. With the help from back-to-back #1 picks, Brianna Stewart and Jewel Lloyd. Love you guys, thank you for that. That's when I learned that belonging isn't passive, it takes work. And the same way others created it for me, I wanted to create it for the next generation coming up, like for my young nieces, Zoe and Alex, who are here today. Each of you helped this point guard get the most out of the chip on my shoulder in the game that values scoring above all, motivating me to prove people wrong and find my footing in whatever moment found me. Sometimes that meant stepping up as a scorer, other times it meant facilitating, and eventually it meant growing up from a behind-the-scenes leader to someone comfortable using her voice for what she believes in. At every step, it all came down to this: I couldn't have found my place if I wasn't lucky enough to find my people. Thanks for being the people who decided that in a when-to game, it was always the right time to make me feel like I belonged. This Hall of Fame induction isn't just about individual achievement, it's about joining a community where I'll always belong, a belonging that can never be taken away. In other words, I'll close with something point guards don't often get to say. Thank you for the assist.